Cavalry's back.
We are no one. We are everyone. We are invisible.
I'm just going to ask you a series of questions. Answer them honestly.
You believe your life is under direct and immediate threat?
I wear the mask to protect myself.
3 years of peace. And we convinced ourselves that they were gone. But they were just hibernating.
And that time is near.
Just the end of the world.
It's only just begun.
Hello and welcome to Who Watches, a show about the HBO series Watchmen. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Ryan DeVere.
And I'm Dustin Meadows.
And this week we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 7, An Almost Religious Awe. So, I think this week, I feel like it was a real, kind of a filler episode. We could have skipped it and moved on into next week and been perfectly fine. What do you think?
Yeah, no groundbreaking revelations or anything.
So we're almost done now. We're really heading into the home stretch.
2 episodes left.
Yeah, and I think next week is going to be an even bigger episode than this one, and episode 9, just based on the trajectory of the comic and everything, I would suspect it to be kind of the fallout of whatever happens next week.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This week, just really crazy watching experience. I don't know what it was like for you, or if anything came to pass.
Yeah, there's definitely, it was nice having some theories confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
And then some that weren't even on my radar until like later in the episode, things got brought up and then gears started turning. But like we finally got the clarification on Lady Trieu's daughter.
Yep.
Which I know we talked about before, and we definitely figured she was a clone of somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was her mother beyond.
So it was kind of fun seeing that pay off finally and having it confirmed, and then of course obviously the bigger. Let's just get it. Let's
so much to get
it.
into, so we can start that right now.
Yeah.
The episode opens with the intro to a documentary from the 1980s entitled Manhattan: An American Life, recounting the origins of Dr. Manhattan and his effect on the modern world. We pull out and we see a young Angela Abar in a video store in 1987 who pulls down a copy of Sister Night, the nun with the motherfucking gun. She is told by the clerk at the counter that she will not be allowed to watch it, but he takes her money anyway. And Angela walks through the streets of Saigon, and we see festivities as citizens are celebrating VVN Day. She approaches her parents with the tape, and Angela's father, Marcus, tells her that people who wear masks are dangerous and that they should be feared. So he convinces her to take the tape back, and as she's walking back, a man with a bomb and a backpack yells, "Death to the invaders," and kills a group of American troops, including Angela's parents.
Now she can watch the movie. No parents, no rules.
It's the ultimate Home Alone.
I made my family disappear, or at least the suicide bomber did. Yeah, I love that cover, the Sister Night cassette. I got a very Pam Grier and like coffee vibe.
Oh yeah,
right? Like it's like clearly it's like, all right, why doesn't this blaxploitation film exist? Because it looks awesome.
Yeah, on PDpedia apparently that was a subsect of a genre of movies in the 1970s of black mask films.
Interesting.
Which were a response and a parody of the, white people being vigilantes in America. So it is particularly like all of those films as well that we see on the rack are specifically like Vietnamese. Most of them are. A few interesting videos on that rack.
And then here comes Sister Night.
Yeah, there's Trunky, the brave little elephant.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
And Tusky, the brave little elephant. We see some more elephants later. And Monsters from Outer Space. And David Cronenberg's Fog Dancing, based on the best-selling novel by Max Shea, who Max Shea is a character from the comic book. He's a writer who is tied into Adrian Veidt.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So I only caught the Tusky, the brave little elephant.
Yeah.
That's a good eye. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh, it's just Babar, but without the royalty.
Yeah, I mean,
so much happening in this first scene. I know.
Right, so much happening, and all the little just attention to detail things. You've got so many references to Dr. Manhattan. And obviously this is after Dr. Manhattan kind of decimated their whole existence in Vietnam. But then there's kind of this cultural appropriation that's happening. It's kind of like the Vietnamese are forced to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay, we live in an occupied country now.
Yeah, it's like an imposed independence.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
they're clearly there's this reverence for Dr. Manhattan and who he is, and he's this American icon.
Yeah. It's the episode itself is a reference to that. It's in the comic book.
Okay.
Yeah, in issue 4, we get to see and hear about Dr. Manhattan's exploits fighting in Vietnam. So here's a quote in which we see him fighting in Vietnam and the troops surrendering to him. He says, "It's May. I have been here 2 months. The Viet Cong are expected to surrender within the week. Many have given themselves up already. Often they ask to surrender to me personally. Their terror of me balanced by an almost religious awe."
Bam, there you go.
Yep. And that's when we see the episode title is the troops like fighting and surrendering to him as a marionette in the puppet show.
Which I love the puppet thing because he has that line in the comic where he says something to the effect of, I'm a puppet too. I can just see the strings.
Yep, that's exactly.
And as soon as I saw the marionette, I was like, that's a nice little nod to that.
Yeah, because another thing about everything you said about the American occupation and about how everybody seems to be the majority of everyone is celebrating that, but there is
It's definitely some holdouts.
Yeah, and I guess Lindelof got the idea really of that from Lost when they were shooting it. He would go to Hawaii a lot, and while he's there, he just thought it seemed like most people were pretty happy and thrilled to be the 50th state of the U.S. But there were definitely some holdouts who were not really happy to be part of the United States. So Vietnam being the 51st state, they used to be their own country. Obviously, there's similar feelings of not wanting to be owned by the United States.
Yeah, it was also interesting. I got this kind of Good Morning Vietnam vibe, at least during that opening scene, because there's that moment in Good Morning Vietnam also where one of the natives like bombs a restaurant or a cafe that like the American soldiers tend to frequent, and then like Robin Williams' buddy ends up like being the one behind it and all that. It was interesting like that it kind of brought that back for me, that idea of like these people being here, like they're supposed to be there to help and protect you, but like nobody wants us there.
Yeah.
And it's this imposed independence, this imposed kind of rule, because it gets absorbed into America. So now it's not even its own thing.
So in the comics, is it explored pretty heavily at all that what's happening in Vietnam during whatever else is happening in the rest of the story?
Really. You get flashbacks of the comedian and Dr. Manhattan, and then Nixon showing up on the first victory over Vietnam Day when they win the war.
But there's not really much on the fallout. It's just kind of stated.
No, not really,
it's-
as far as the bigger picture.
Yeah, and it's just this thing that's like the first big step in shaping the alternate present in the comics. It's just that we win Vietnam.
Yeah. Some interesting little things going on is, I think we knew this before, but I never really connected it, is Marcus, Angela's dad, his last name is Abar, not Reeves. So he don't know where he got the name Abar from. And then obviously she uses that, and Cal's last name is Abar, not anything else as well. So everything makes more sense now that when they created this,
Yeah.
he would take her name.
Do we know? Do we ever get June's last name? I mean, it would have been probably Reeves. But we don't know what her maiden name is.
I don't know what June's maiden name is. Which, could very well be that. We don't know.
Yeah, that would make sense. Usually if you reject the patriarch's name, you usually take the mother's name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so...
and so then it could have just been Angela's mom's last name, but we don't know. That's all just speculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, once again we hear James Brown's living in America.
Oh yeah.
And we can't hear it without seeing a tragic death afterwards, just like in Rocky IV.
Yep. As soon as it kicked in, I was like, "Ooh, is Carl Weathers going to come out?"
Get some synergy there. We see Burgers and Borscht in the background, which is another comic book reference with the Russian relationship with America after everything that happens. They start this burger chain, and we see a scene in there later. Oh yeah, and the documentary as well that they begin with is just so pitch perfect. Everything, the music and the narration just feels like you're watching an actual like documentary from the 80s.
Yeah, even the depiction of Manhattan, I loved that.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time doing a flyover with the explosions.
Yeah.
But then green screening him in, or however they, it looked terrible in the best way. Like,
They just put him in over footage of Apocalypse.
yeah,
Now.
basically.
Yeah. That's what I thought we were looking at first was Apocalypse Now. But yeah, just a lot of just an overload of things happening in that scene.
I appreciate that we're finally, like, Dr. Manhattan being kind of the catalyst to so many things in this universe. This is kind of the first time that we're actually addressing it directly. And for me, I'm kind of like, finally. He's been more or less absent. They've referenced him. They've shown little kind of scenes about it. He obviously shaped the way technology happens. But now we're finally, like, exploring, okay, these are the people that were most affected by Manhattan becoming a thing. And, like, that's just inherently a fascinating part of this universe to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and their reverence, fear, probably to some degree hatred of him.
Yeah.
Everything, all of the above. So, yeah, which we'll, I think, get more into as the series wraps up. And, yeah, we move on. During the explosion, she falls out of bed, and current Angela and Lady Trieu comes in. And Angela asks where she is, and Trieu explains that she has already asked that 5 times, and that Agent Blake sent her to Trieu because since it was her drug, she would be the one to treat it. She then injects Angela with a tutorial injection, and it's a drug that gives the audience and Angela some immediate exposition, and explains that she is being treated by a natural host to flush the effects of foreign nostalgia from her neural network. Trieu then tells her that the natural host is her grandfather and that she must remain separated from him while she regains her memories and sense of self.
Yeah, and what we didn't talk about in the first scene is that all throughout that scene, there's moments of what she
Getting flashes
lived in
of
the previous
Tulsa,
episode.
yeah.
Which is really just cool. You know, you get to see kind of the parody of what's happened in Will's life and what's happened in Angela's life. And
So she's probably lived this memory over and over again throughout her life, and now she's experiencing it in a way that's contextualized differently, considering she knows more about where she came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Memory remix.
I thought the way they just kind of did a lot of exposition in this scene with Lady Trieu very well. It kind of wasn't in the way, and you got caught up to what was kind of happening.
Yeah.
And how Angela's doing and all of that. You get the tutorial, which was, that was really cool. Like that was so believable as like,
all right,
what you would
this is
actually,
what you're going to take to to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, there's not many other things you could get away with, like sliding that into. It's like, hey, here's an exposition pull, but in this universe, like, it's like, oh no, this is a thing that actually would probably exist. This makes sense. I buy it in this existence.
Yeah. And Trieu was just very callous with her and very tired of treating her and answering all these questions over and over again.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, one of my past jobs was working with people with disabilities, and part of that would be I would regularly work with people who had no short-term memory, and that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like in the space of 10 minutes, they might ask you like what day it is, like 20 different times, like stuff like that, and it gets repetitive really quick. So I can imagine. Especially Lady Trieu not being able to just give like one-word answers, like, all right, I'm over this.
Yeah.
This is number 5.
Yeah, no, True's like me. I like to I like to give information once, and then when I have to be asked again, I was like, I thought I already told this. I told it to somebody else. Why do I have to tell it to another person?
Yep. Well, you just got to get yourself a tutorial drug.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, Lady Trieu has most of her character has more or less come off like she just doesn't have time for anybody's stuff.
No.
She's got to save the world.
Yeah, she's on a mission. The most patient she's been was with Will a couple episodes back, and even then she was not super thrilled with how he was handling stuff.
And she asks what memory Angela was experiencing, and she tells her a lie that it was her 10th birthday and she was getting a pony.
Pretty thinly veiled.
Yeah. And then we hear chimes, and there's an announcement that it is 12 hours until the Millennium Clock is activated. And we see Cal driving up to the Millennium Clock, and he finds Red Scare and Pirate Jenny waiting outside. And he attempts to go in, and he's told via hologram of Beyond that unauthorized personnel cannot enter while they prepare to activate the clock.
Yeah, so the Millennium Clock's been a part of the story for several episodes now.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit surprised that it's like, all right, and now we're in the countdown. When it wasn't really, they have been preparing it, but we didn't really have a time frame.
No, not until now.
Yeah, now it feels
I think
very imminent.
Yeah, at the end of episode 4, we're kind of, it's hinted at because of Will's conversation with Trieu, and that it's just a few days from then.
Yeah.
Which coincides with what the Seventh Kavalry is doing, or goes against, or
Who
we're about to
knows?
find
Right, yeah.
out. Yeah, and then we get to see Red Scare eating Cheetos with a fork.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I guess if you don't want to get Cheeto dust on your hands, that's one way to do it.
I didn't think that's why I was doing it, but that makes sense.
I thought it was, I thought at this point, I was hoping to have heard about Glass, what was happening with Living Glass.
Oh yeah,
because we've got Red Scare, we've got Pirate Jenny stationed there. Nobody's and typically up to this point, we'd kind of seen all three of them together: Red Scare, Looking Glass, and Pirate Jenny. So I was anticipating a line of dialogue that was like, "Nah, it's too bad what happened to."
Oh yeah,
Wade, but
get into that one.
Nothing. Yeah.
Cal asks for Agent Blake. And we cut to Blake sitting in her car listening to a recording of Angela talking while reliving her grandfather's memories. Mm-hmm. And then she receives a radio call from Petey, who was sent to find Looking Glass, and he has discovered a slew of dead 7th Kavalry members in his bunker. And Blake tells him to stay where he is while she visits Miss Crawford.
I'm going to be honest, if we don't get a flashback of what happens there, I'm going to be real disappointed. I want to see that.
I feel like we could. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. As long as we get some scene of Looking Glass being badass, I'll accept that.
Yeah.
It's weird. We've gone 2 episodes now without any actual appearance of Looking Glass.
No Tim Blake Nelson.
Yeah.
Which is nuts, because honestly, I feel like after Angela, like he's easily like one of the core characters of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bizarre, because like at this point, is Angela the only Cal's popped up in almost every episode.
Yeah,
like
Cal
Angela
has
and
been
Cal
in every episode almost.
have been the only ones that have been in like every episode. I feel
and
like
Adrian, with the exception of last week as well.
yeah,
Right.
So yeah, Angela and Cal are the only characters that have appeared in every single episode so far. Interesting. It almost kind of, in a weird like retrospective way, it almost telegraphs what we find out later too.
Well, we'll go into that.
Yeah. But yeah, so and Looking Glass is nowhere to be found.
No.
So we
And
can assume that he's survived.
Yeah, and he's taken one of the masks.
And one of the masks is missing.
So we're going to
Yeah.
see him in a 7th Cavalry mask
Yeah.
infiltrating them.
Did you see the dude he took the mask off of, though?
Yeah.
That guy outweighs Tim Blake Nelson by a good...
Well, all he needs is the mask.
What, is he going to show up and be like, oh, yeah, no...
Well, because the mask all looks the same.
I don't think people are looking for that specific guy. I think he can just wear it.
You can just... They sent 5 guys to go kill him,
But,
and
well,
one
he
skinny
could've-
guy comes back.
Well, I don't know. One of those guys could have fit his physical profile, I guess.
Yeah, we don't really get a
Yeah,
good...
but I mean, well, he didn't take the clothes or anything. He literally just took the mask, which shouldn't matter too much.
As long as you're wearing plaid under it.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's completely reasonable that only a few or one of them would come back alive, if any came back at all.
I guess so. We've not seen him do anything. Like, we've not seen Looking Glass fight anybody yet.
No, I'm trying to think if during the when they were rounding everybody out in Nixon Town, if
He's just in the pod.
Yeah, he
Or no,
was
wasn't
back
even-
with Angela
yeah, I'm
talking.
sorry.
Yeah, because he wasn't there. Because Red Scare led that raid.
Mhm.
That was Red Scare and Pirate Jenny and the uniformed cops.
Yeah,
on
I
that
don't think
one.
we've seen him throw a
No,
punch.
Angela, they were there.
Yeah, they
But
were there.
in
They
the
were in
car.
the back.
They were in the car talking for.
Oh,
most
they were
of it.
standing talking, and
That's what it
then
was.
'Cause she
I think
beats the
somebody.
crap out of
Then
him.
she,
Yeah,
yeah,
mhm.
But yeah, he's just there. He doesn't throw a punch that whole scene. I think.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen him throw a punch
Maybe
at
we'll
all.
get to.
I'm just saying. I want if this guy who we've seen be pretty passive so far just wiped out 5 dudes with
Yeah.
heavily armed.
Well, he's got the skills. We're gonna see a sequence. This is gonna be very like Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes movies.
Oh yeah, narrates what he's gonna do.
I'd take
Apply
it.
pressure to the weak point.
Yeah. Your mother never loved you.
What if he just verbally takes them down?
He does.
He like just tells them the truth.
You're a white supremacist, but your girlfriend's a black one.
You were the least favored child.
And they all just kill themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's like, oh, what have I done? I'm gonna go back to school.
This man is a mirror. I don't like what I see.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. And then
We still don't know who Lube Man is.
no, yeah, still no mention of Lube
One
Man.
of the biggest mysteries of the entire show.
Yeah, every time I see, the theory still lives that it must be Petey because we've not gotten any other answers.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just lives in
Well, it's
infamy.
insane too. We haven't seen any trace of him since.
No.
It was literally just that one scene.
Dude slides down into a sewer.
It's like a part of me is almost afraid that that's like a plot thread that's just going to be left unresolved.
Lindelof, why?
I think
It's the
with-
polar bears all over again.
Yeah. But with everything we've seen, and I think with all the attention to detail,
I don't think so, but I'm just saying. I've been burned by Lindelof before.
Well, maybe we'll see a spin-off Lube Man series after this.
HBO's Lube Men.
Who lubes the Lube Man? That'll be the name of the next podcast.
Oh man. Oh, that's a terrible name.
Then while in the Crawford home, Blake reveals to Jane everything they know about Crawford's death and the circumstances surrounding it. She says, what if the Seventh Kavalry is just Cyclops by another name? And what if Senator Joe used them to kill a bunch of police so that he could put all the cops in masks, and pretty soon no one can tell the good guys from the bad guys because everybody's covering their faces and pledging their loyalty to their newly elected leader, President Joe. And then Jane just straight up says, well, that was the original plan, but then presidents seem like small potatoes. And then she uses a remote control to drop Blake through a trap door. And
After several attempts.
Yeah. And she makes a call and says that Agent Blake just stopped by and asks if she should kill her or what.
Also, what's Crawford's wife's name?
Jane.
Jane. She has that line right before she says, "There's like, oh, is it too early to confess?" or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another scene like that later where someone's cut off like, stop the monologuing.
Yeah. Not sure. Yes, as soon as like Lori told her, I was like, I feel like she's probably in on it.
Yeah.
Like she's here. She's here alone. Like this is typically that moment where something gets revealed, and then you're trapped.
So Lori, up to this point, has been just super quick on the draw, including shooting a guy in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was surprised that she stayed
Didn't
put
like get
so
up out of
long.
the seat. Yeah.
Yeah,
She asked, "What are you doing?" while it was happening.
She seemed very like caught off guard, which is not characteristic of her in the series.
Yeah, which makes me question. And
I think she was genuinely surprised.
yeah,
Like 'cause she clearly didn't see any of that coming.
nobody sees the trapdoor coming.
Yeah, like even like when she was sitting there, like she didn't even take it as like a potential threat. Like somebody says something like that and then pulls out a remote. It's like I have to assume it's going to be not good for me.
Yeah.
I might not have guessed trap door, but I certainly wouldn't assume that like they were adjusting like automatic blinds or like a fan or something.
Maybe it was the chandelier coming down.
Yeah.
I'd be scared of a rancor in there. But.
Yeah, this is the sliding floor that drops you and the Twilight Dancer down.
Yeah, but yeah, she definitely seemed to be the one. She thought she was going to be catching Jane off guard.
Yeah.
And
The tables
very
were turned.
role reversal there.
Now the shoe is on the other foot.
So yeah, then we cut to the Millennium Clock, where we see Angela being visited by Beyond. And Beyond gives her a psychological Rorschach-esque kind of test, and what she reveals is just research for her dissertation. And then Angela compares Beyond to her son, Topher, and then Beyond asks if it's hard lying to him about her career. Angela then has a flashback to her childhood, and we see her in an orphanage helping to paint Russian nesting dolls of Dr. Manhattan. And she is pulled out and asked by Saigon police to confirm the identity of the co-conspirator of the man responsible for the Vivienne bombing. And she asks one of the police officers if she can listen to the man's interrogation, but instead we hear him being executed in the distance.
Yep.
Then the officer gives her a badge and is told to find her when she grows up. And then later that night, we see her place the badge under her mattress next to the VHS copy of Sister Night. Yeah.
So those were Russian nesting dolls?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't quite tell in the moment what they were.
Yeah.
But
Matryoshka dolls, I believe, is
Yes,
the Russian
Matry-
term.
Yeah, which is multiple like little references at once because
Yeah.
of like the whole Russian thing and the fact that what we find out later is that
Yes.
Dr. Manhattan is hiding within a shell of another
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
A human Russian nesting doll.
Yeah.
Ew.
Human bean juice.
Which is also in the comic as well. Dan has a dream in which it's him and I can't remember the name of her. He has
Laurie?
a photo. No, it does end up becoming him and Laurie, but at first it's him and this like vixen woman that he like used to chase, and he has a photograph of her that she autographed and sent him a message with.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
he's having a dream in which it's him and her, and he pulls the skin off of her, and it becomes Laurie.
Yeah. Well, then because it's them in costume, and then they peel that off.
Yeah.
And it's them naked. And then it's them kissing in a nuclear blast. That part,
Yeah,
right?
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna make out naked, why not next to a nuclear blast?
It's very cinematic. Ton of things happening here. I like at the beginning of the scene with her and Beyond, we hear the chime, and it's a grandfather clock chime. Just like ties back to like her grandfather
Yeah.
and everything.
Huh.
So I just remember we had a grandfather clock in my house growing up, so I'm very familiar with the sounds of those.
Yeah,
chimes.
that's a hell of a pull.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Did you guys kind of take the test as Angela was taking it?
A little bit, yeah.
Just paying attention to the questions?
I was
mean,
not picking out the lone guy with the kite.
Yeah, I mean, it was most of what I would have come up with was opposite of Angela. I was trying to read into that and predict, but I don't know.
Except
I got
for the
nothing.
two angry women. I'm always looking for little differences there.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was the one that like I was obsessively staring at. I was like,
Yeah.
no, they are the same, but they can't be.
And then she asks if that's what is this supposed to reveal? And she's like, no, nothing. It doesn't have anything to do with
Yeah.
the treatment. It's just what Beyond does, just
Yep.
making friends.
And she asks her, if you don't want your kids to worry you're a cop, then why are you a cop?
Yeah, which is kind of the question of Angela. Like, there's, like
And,
she's
yeah,
had
it's
several
a-
opportunities to be out and stays.
And also you can apply that to, so many characters in this series, but also Will. and Will's relationship to his son, and he doesn't want his son like putting on the makeup and putting on the mask, and it's like, well, if you don't want your kids to worry about or see you doing that or be influenced by that, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, and that literally every generation's like, I'm going to do this thing that potentially puts myself and my family at risk.
Yeah, and that's being carried out with Topher. Like,
Oh, we're gonna see the next generation here in 30 years.
Yeah. Well, and so far too, we've seen every generation of that family suffer some form of tragedy as a result of it. Like for Will, it was like clearly he lost his wife and son essentially. And then for his son, he died because he was in Vietnam in the first place.
Yeah.
And then of course Angela, the White Knight.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It's this very interesting aspect of the book and this series is one of the things that Damon Lindelof talked about when discussing this series and how it could be somewhat confusing to people who didn't read the comics. And he's like, well, you could look at the original comic as it's a sequel to the generation of Minutemen that came before it.
Yeah.
And this is treating those heroes and events from the 80s with the same,
yeah,
in the same way, which I really like. And I like the idea of in another 30 years seeing what the world is like and what has become of these generations.
Yeah, I mean, and that goes back to Dr. Manhattan's kind of final thoughts in the comic of nothing ever ends. Everything is like you have to be joining a story in process. You can't start at the beginning. Nothing, like, it's always a continuation.
Yeah, in both directions.
Yeah.
As we're seeing, because we're seeing things unfold way prior to what we thought was the beginning of the story based on the source material of the book. So it's very interesting there.
So do we think that there was an execution there? I mean, we hear a gunshot.
No, definitely
I'm
was.
pretty sure.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they took him away, and then I was like, yeah, no, they capped that guy. Which is interesting because, like, clearly, like they've got their own police force that like seems to not be falling in line because like
Not
typically
exactly due process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's something like that's supposed to happen in America, and with Vietnam being a state, you would think that they would fall into that, but like they're playing. It's almost like the law there's playing out like an unclaimed territory that hasn't like entered statehood yet and isn't responsible to the same laws and everything.
It's like the Wild West.
Yeah, exactly.
Martial law.
Which is really interesting because like, I mean, at this point, how do we have a ballpark? How long Vietnam's been a state at this point when this happens?
VVN Day, the first one was in 1971.
Okay.
So it's been 16 years at that point.
Okay, so things should have been ironed out by this point. But the fact that like there still is like, no, just take this guy around the corner and shoot him. And then we'll just file the report. It's interesting to see that the law is operating that way.
Do you think Angela knew that this dude was getting capped?
Oh no, she thought they were going to
Right.
interrogate him.
Right.
She wanted
Yeah.
to listen in
She
so
wanted
she
to- well, that's
could
what-
learn.
She wanted to see justice carried out. Instead, she only heard justice carried out.
So this would have been this would have been formative for her. She's young. This is the person that took her parents away. Now a police officer is taking justice into their hands and ending it. I'm just.
Well, I
thought
mean,
that was-
and it makes sense because like later we see her operating outside the law, like when she takes Will away from the scene of Jones
Right.
hanging and like lies to Lori about his existence and involvement at all and everything. So it's so like clearly like that's impacted her to some extent.
That cop just had a random extra badge to give her too, which was nice.
Yeah. Well, and then
I
too,
looked
like,
at that because I was like, is this one of those ones you give kids? But it's not. It
it
looks
was like
legit.
a real badge.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, what's she gonna do? Like say, oh, I lost my badge. But it's interesting too because like I wonder how much of that is because obviously like she's wearing a mask, and there's that sense of freedom and like kind of that idea of being above the law, which is kind of the whole point of putting on a mask in the first place and vigilantism. And then how much of that's because like she literally witnessed a law enforcement officer as a child not follow the letter of the law.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like the biggest possible way.
Yeah, which is
you're pretty sure this is the guy, right? Oh, yeah, I think it is. All right, let's kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting that's going on. And like, well, because do they have some kind of a personal vendetta against this guy? Is there history there that we don't know of between these cops and him, or is it just because it's more efficient this way?
I mean, it could simply be a matter of like, obviously they're law enforcement officers. They've kind of fallen in line with the order of things, and maybe they just have zero tolerance for extremism. Like the same way that we see Angela beat the confession out of the Kavalry member later, and then Looking Glass covers for it is like, I was not present for the second interrogation or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's very much kind of in that same vein, where it could just honestly be a response to the extremism of the other side.
Yeah, it's a defense mechanism. It's anger bottled up. It's all these different things. And also, Angela she joined the police force in Vietnam.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, so this is, if that was what was not unusual, that was what she came from.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Also interesting is the guy, the puppeteer that we see at the beginning, and we see him, die here, is his scar. The scar on his face, I think, looks very similar to the scar that the comedian ends up getting in the book.
Yeah, when the wife, not his wife, but his paramour,
Former lover,
confronts him
Yep.
about the child. Yeah.
So it made me wonder, like, where that scar came from. Could that scar have ironically come from the comedian himself when this guy was like a child back during the Vietnam War? But yeah. So then when she comes out of her memory, Beyond confides in her that she has dreams that she is an old woman and that it hurts. And she asks what it is like for Angela to also experience the memories of her grandfather, and she says, yeah, it hurts too. Then we are treated to just an awesome transition from Angela's face into a church in which the trial of Adrian Veidt is being held.
That might be the best transition.
Yeah, it was because at first you saw like something in her eyes, and you're like, "What's going?"
Yeah, her
Oh,
yeah, that was just so smooth.
yeah. And the game warden takes his seat and allows Madam Prosecutor, who is another Miss Crookshanks.
You mean the Dread Pirate Roberts?
Oh, yeah. To present her closing argument. And she summarizes Veidt's crimes, including the slaughter of 3 million lives on Earth. However, despite his murderous ways, the crime that is focused on and that he is tried for is escape. And the game warden offers Veidt the opportunity to make a statement in his defense, to which he takes the stand and loudly flatulates. And then the game warden explains that Veidt can only be judged by a jury of his peers. And as none of them are his peers, he allows in a multitude of pigs. And he picks one up and asks the pig to deliver judgment. And the pig squeals, and the warden announces guilty. And everyone points and chants guilty over and over again.
This
storyline just keeps getting weirder.
Yeah. The fact that like literally Adrian's only dialogue in this scene is right after he farts and just says the defense rest.
Yeah.
Like clearly like
And he's not spoken throughout the entire trial either.
Well, that to me clearly like I think he's viewing this trial as a farce. It's essentially a kangaroo court. Like they know that the verdict is going to be guilty, so he doesn't even bother. Which I guess is one of the drawbacks of being the smartest man in the world, is knowing everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so bizarre, like especially seeing them like throw on like the old like barrister wigs and everything and doing it all old timey. And then the pigs, where did the pigs come from?
Yeah, where did they come from? We don't know.
Do they come from the lake?
Could be.
Yeah. But it's such a bizarre scene. Like my fiance even said, she was like, "This is like a Pink Floyd video."
Yeah.
or some weird shit.
And when the pigs came in, I immediately thought of this movie. It's kind of a random movie. Have you heard of Upstream Color?
No.
It's a movie in which people are like turned into pigs, and it just made me think of that.
Huh.
The Lobster.
Similar to The Lobster, but no, not bad.
That scene in Willow.
Oh no, not that one either. But yeah,
Isn't there also a part in the Odyssey where Circe's, I think, like turns a bunch of Odysseus's men into pigs?
yeah. I guess it's a common thing throughout storytelling to turn
You're
people
saying
into
those
pigs.
were more Mr. Phillips and Crookshanks?
Maybe. Who
Could
knows?
be. Or maybe those are previous people who have been held in trial.
Yeah. Maybe they start out as pigs.
But this is the first time we've seen the Phillips and Crookshanks characters. They
Take
have a
charge to-
society. They
yeah.
have like law. They have like the game warden obviously represents something in this. Although I think it is another Mr. Phillips.
Yeah.
But like they're apparently more intelligent than we've been led to believe up to this point. There's just I don't know.
Yeah.
All of them too are these, because the last time, well, it has been a while now, because so they say it's day 365 of the trial. It's been a full year of him being on trial. Lindelof has explained that time is working a little differently for Veidt than it is in the rest of the story.
That makes sense.
And I think that means that those candles and the anniversary cakes, I think, are representative of years. And I think the anniversary is years that he has been in exile in this place. I would guess. I don't know. But
I mean, that's as good a theory as anything else we've come
Yeah.
up with. So
yeah, so I don't know how long it's been now since we've seen him kind of start fresh with those two clones that he pulled out of the lake a few episodes ago, and he grew. But yeah, obviously they're able to populate and grow.
Not only that, they build some sort of society.
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird too because like they almost flipped on a dime because like they went from being very subservient to very out for blood.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that was entirely due to the presence of the game warden kind of
Taking charge.
like catalyzing them, to kind of stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
Or it just exemplifies how deep rooted this idea of you don't leave is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole, they were given, because Madam Prosecutor says, we are governed by one law, a law imbued in us by our Creator when he gifted us with life and his glorious paradise in which to live it. Thou shalt not leave. And the fact that is like Mr. Phillips and Mrs. Crookshanks, I think, are very representative of Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. And this, paradise that they're living in is the garden, and thou shalt not leave is the fruit of the tree. So it's...
Yeah. Adrian spoke with the serpent.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Is Adrian like, Satan in this?
Maybe the D stands for devil.
Yeah, could be.
Save me, devil. Now all I can think of is a bumper sticker that says it's Adam and Eve, not Phillips and Crookshanks.
Oh.
You might get on. You might need to get on that.
Let's start printing them.
Yep. Oh man, yeah. I'm really curious to see how the rest of everything with Adrian plays out because I feel like that more than anything is the one that we've probably gotten the least amount of answers on.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only thing we've really had confirmed is that we surmised pretty early on that Phillips and Crookshanks were either robots or clones, and that was hammered out pretty early on. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, we still don't know exactly what the anniversary is. We don't know who put them here. We've only got theories about it. So Adrian's definitely the biggest question mark. I feel like a lot of the other stuff pieces have kind
We're
of
getting
come
more of a
together, and we're
picture.
getting more of the picture. But with Adrian, like, it could literally go anywhere. Like, I'm still fairly certain that Manhattan is the one that put him there.
Yeah.
Like, I still think that. But again, we haven't had that confirmed. And that could be completely upended in the next 2 episodes. We don't know.
Oh, yeah. Something to note, though, when the Crookshanks, who is on the opposite side, is kind of giving her her speech, she sits down and she winks at him.
Yeah. Which I took note of that, and I'm like, all right, is it because they are dumb, and she's like, this is what you want, right? Or is it because there is something going on, and he
jailbreak.
yeah, where this is all according to some kind of plan that he wanted her to like lay in and all that. You know, we don't know.
I mean, it stands to reason that he's got something up his sleeve.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't seem to be too worried, though he does cry at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it's because he's just being reminded of all, you know, they were just put on display. They had the literal art from the comic of the creature that we see on the island.
Yeah.
And it just looks completely blown. It looks like they took what Dave Gibbons like drew on there and like just recreated it one for one. It looked awesome.
So Veet was not at the scene when the alien squid was placed.
No,
I'm assuming he would have known what it looked like, though.
Yes, he was behind the creation of it. He sent it there. He was in Karnak in Antarctica.
Yeah.
And he sent it to New York. Not from Antarctica, I don't think. I think he sent it from the boat. Or he sent it. We don't know where the boat went. I don't know if the boat could have gone to Antarctica for a little while before. We don't know where the squid was when it was transported, but we do know that he sent it to New York.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, the only way for them
found it on the island.
He did. He found the whole team of writers and artists and the whole crew that were creating it on the island. But then it was being sent off on a boat, on a separate boat than everybody else.
The one that he blew everybody up on.
Because what's her name was drawing this famous last picture of it before it was sent out.
Yeah. Huh.
So either Adrian has told them about this, or
she says that he's like bragged about it over and over again.
Yeah, but like even down to the picture, did he draw the picture of them for
them?
Like,
I don't know where that picture came from.
Right. I don't know. I'm just
maybe it was like a first draft or something that he like kept after he approved it or something.
Can I have this?
Yeah. I mean, I imagine he'd probably keep some kind of record or memento. Like he's big on like his statues and trophies and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. He was like, oh, hey, remember that time that I pulled off this elaborate hoax and like forced world peace?
Let me keep some evidence of that. That's gonna come back to bite me. But,
yep.
You see the skull and crossbones behind the judge, which is like more Black Freighter imagery, which is more the whole Black Freighter thing is tied into Veit's story and feeds into, I think he has a certain amount of guilt about like what's being done and like what he's done to achieve these things, and I think that's feeding into the end of the scene here too. And the game warden, he's constantly wearing that, like you said, the Dread Pirate Roberts. He's wearing a mask the whole time as well, which is more people wearing masks in this series.
Yeah, people in authority wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's still, we walk away from this scene, we learn some things, but still brings up more questions.
Yeah. Some also fun little tidbits in there was the Madam Prosecutor refers to costume adventurers, which is what they always refer to themselves as in the comic, because they were adventuring or costume adventurers and not vigilantes or superheroes. And also the front of the judge's podium is the door to the intrinsic field generator that they used in the play.
Oh, that's a good catch.
Yeah. But then, so we see the tears run down Veit's face, and we transition from him into the Ozymandias statue in Trieu's vivarium. And we see Angela attempting to open the door where her tube runs. And Trieu sees her and asks if she is hungry. And then the two of them eat, and Trieu explains that she is in Oklahoma because she has a plan to save humanity. And then through some expository dialogue, Trieu reveals that she knows Angela and Cal moved to Oklahoma to start over after his accident. And she explains that she knows Cal suffered complete amnesia, which is extremely rare unless you're in a soap opera. And then Trieu claims that she got the information from Angela's grandfather and that he didn't intend for her to take all of his nostalgia at once. And then Angela asks whose nostalgia Beyond is being pumped with. And then Trieu reveals that Beyond is a clone of her mother and that the memories she is receiving are her own so that she will have her mother's experiences when she grows up. Trieu wants her parents present as she completes her life's work. And Angela asks if her dad is here too, to which Trieu replies, he will be. Not a lot of things going on in that scene, you know?
No, but this was the moment where I began to suspect that there was something going on with Cal more than we'd been led on. Because when she mentions the accident and when she specifically goes out of her way to say amnesia is completely like such a rare thing, I was like, all right, so clearly Cal is now a part of this, and there's something deeper with Cal that we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't start putting that together until closer towards the end, but that was like the first piece of the puzzle that kind of got laid out, and I was like, all right, Cal's part of this somehow.
Yeah.
And then of course we obviously get clued in that if Angela's grandfather's not there yet, how can he be in the room? So now we know that that's not true.
Yeah.
Although, well, I guess Lady Trieu never said that it was her grandfather in there. I think she just assumed.
Angela.
Because she said it was a host.
Yeah, she said it was a natural host, and then Angela asks, she says, my grandfather, and Trieu just kind of like nods and goes along with it, like, yeah, it's your granddad.
Yeah. Well, 'cause she has to see him, and then like she keeps telling him, like, you can't see him yet. Like, they could be catastrophic. Like,
right.
with
You
the
don't know
memories
where you begin.
intermingling still and everything. And then, of course, yeah, we get it confirmed that Beyond is a clone.
Yep, of her mom.
Her mom pulled all of her memories before she died.
Yeah. Or it could even be post-mortem, too. We don't know what she's capable of. No, I don't think... I was trying to do the math, and I was like looking at the panel in which the comedian guns down the pregnant woman, and I don't think it's really possible for Beyond to be her.
Yeah.
Because Beyond says that she's an old woman. This woman's not old.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think according to the Peteypedia, there's an article on Trieu, and Trieu was raised by her mother, and she was instilled with a lot of things that her mother taught her.
Yeah,
so
couldn't do that if you were gunned down by the comedian.
No. So,
it was a nice little theory.
But potentially, comedian could still be her father, because this also like questions who is her father.
Yeah.
How he get there?
Very.
I'm
Absolute.
sure the comedian didn't bang just the one
Yeah,
Vietnamese
I think he's
woman.
might have a few Vietnamese children. So we've got 3 candidates, I think, for Trieu's father. We got Dr. Manhattan, because he's got the history in Vietnam, and Trieu has a certain obsession with him, as we find out.
Yep.
We've got the comedian, because he's also got the same history in Vietnam. Beyond's memories are memories of him and his like brigade, like storming a village, and the fact that Trieu can clone. And then we've got Adrian Veidt. She's got the statue of him. It's her satellite is the one that, sees the message that says "Save me, D." And
She's got his company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be Veidt, because.
Oh, you're getting ready.
Yeah.
Do we know Lady Trieu's first name?
No. Which, it could be something that begins with a D.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Or Save Me D could be Save Me D. Or it could be Save Me, comma D, as in dad, daddy. And Lindelof in the first episode, no, it was in the most recent episode of the podcast where he jokes about it could say "Save me, Daddy," and he has a history of telling people what's going on, but it being so ridiculous that people don't believe it.
Yeah.
For the first season of Lost, after the first season at Comic-Con, somebody had him like sign a DVD box set and asked like what was in the hatch, and he like wrote on that there's a man pressing a button to save the world. And it wasn't until after it, the second season aired, it's like, oh my gosh, he told the truth. So when he joked about maybe it's "Save Me, Daddy," it could literally be Vite saying "Save me, comma, Daddy."
Well then.
So we don't know.
Maybe
But
reach out to his real father, or maybe Adrian's a sub. And he's
Maybe
reaching out to-
Adrian's the clone the whole time.
Oh no! Like I mean, like in a sexual.
Oh,
context.
gotcha.
How some people say "daddy," like, but sexy.
No, I don't know. Tell me more about that.
I don't want to get into the whole sub dom culture thing, but it's a thing. You can Google it when you get home. Just maybe do like a safe search or something.
I don't know.
Also
Last
add J.
week
Edgar
was-
Hoover
Yeah,
to that
J.
search.
Edgar Hoover has awakened a lot of
Is he a
things.
Daddy.
Daddy Edgar Hoover.
Yeah. 3 interesting candidates, and I think they'll reveal the identity next week, Maury Povich style.
Dr. Manhattan, you are not the father.
Yeah, is this a timeline that Maury never happened?
Oh,
Alternate
I don't
reality.
know.
I don't know.
I mean,
that's the biggest question.
they had daytime talk shows because Dr. Manhattan goes on one in the comics, so
Mhm.
it's not unreasonable to think that Maury could exist in this continuity.
In fact, they'd probably be like very popular because television's a big thing still in this world because of them being set back by
Right.
technology. They don't have computers. They don't have streaming. They don't have cell phones.
Yeah, they don't have Disney Plus.
No, they can't watch The Mandalorian. We cut to Lori Blake, and she's tied to a chair in the abandoned department store being used by the 7th Kavalry. And she is approached by Joe Keane, and he begins to monologue, and he's cut off by her. She says that he wants to become the most powerful racist in the nation, and he explains that she's wrong about Cyclops and that they aren't racist. He says, we're about restoring balance in those times when our country forgets the principles on which it was founded, because the scales have tipped way too far and it is extremely difficult to be a white man in America right now. So I'm thinking I might try being a blue one.
Yeah, Joe Keane is just every neckbeard on Reddit. Like that's just the path this is taking. As soon as he said, like, I cringed. I was like, it's insane because, like, I mean, this goes back to that very first episode where we kind of hammered out that the 7th Kavalry is just what would happen if the worst possible interpretation of Rorschach took place. Which, I mean, and again, Rorschach already kind of a right-leaning character, and then they made it explicit, and now, like, especially with him dropping that line about it being difficult to be a white man, it's like, no, it's not. The scales have just tipped, so it's easier to be
Right.
things besides a white man. So yeah, I mean, good on Lindelof for like kind of going for the jugular with this commentary, like, and I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot of people that tuned out after this episode.
Hashtag
a lot
not
of,
my Watchmen.
yeah, exactly. No, not all Watchmen. They're like the same people that like tuned out after Last Jedi and stuff like that. That do believe that it's difficult to be a white man, and it's so easy. Like being a white man's the easiest thing to be.
Pretty much historically, it's never been too
Yeah,
bad.
it's never been too difficult. Yeah, so it's but yeah, the interesting part of that reveal is like I'm gonna try and be a blue one, like because that's a twist that I didn't see. Like I think we knew that this all hinged around Dr. Manhattan somehow, especially when we saw them doing the stuff with like the intrinsic field generator and like teleporting the basketballs and everything. I was like, okay, clearly like their plans revolve around him somehow. But like at no point was it like, oh, they're gonna try and like space. That's what the basketballs are for. They're gonna space jam his abilities.
Oh.
They're gonna put his powers in the basketball, and then Joe Keene's gonna touch the basketball and get Dr. Manhattan's powers.
Oh. And Danny DeVito's going to show up. And Bill Murray.
Oh man. But yeah, so I'm curious how
The final episode is Sister Night.
They've got to
Red
play
Scare.
basketball against him. Yeah.
Wayne Knight shows up.
Yeah.
Wayne Knight is his character is the White Knight. Oh man. Yeah, I'm really curious how Lady Trieu, the Millennium Clock, fits into this.
Mm-hmm.
Like how because I don't understand the logistics of any of it. Because like in the comic, like Adrian thinks that he kills Dr. Manhattan.
He tries to.
Yeah.
Because he just tries to do it all again. And then
Yeah.
Manhattan's like, I already put myself back together once.
Exactly.
You think I wouldn't be able to do it again?
So yeah, so I'm really curious what the different approach here is going to be. 'Cause like,
Yeah.
because
I don't know how they're going to attempt to trap him, steal his powers, destroy him.
Yeah, because they're not gonna, unless Adrian was feeding them intel, which I can't imagine he would. Like they're not gonna know that this has been attempted before. Because literally the only three people that know that this, well, the only four people that know would be Lori, Dan, Adrian, and Dr. Manhattan himself.
And we don't know anything about Dan's current situation other than he's locked up.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was thinking it's kind of late in the game to introduce a character like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine him showing up. So yeah, it's like I'm wondering, like, are they literally just going to try the same thing and then just immediately like anticlimax? Like, just, no, this is like the third time this has been done to me. I'm good. I'm Dr. Manhattan.
Would you stop it?
But yeah, to kill him is one thing, but like, how do you like to steal his power? And who's the brain trust behind this? Because like I can't possibly imagine any of the Seventh Kavalry members are smart enough like to know these things.
Yeah, that's a very
Like
good point.
literally the only people smart enough would be Dr. Manhattan, Lady Trieu, and Adrian. I feel like. So yeah, I'm real curious.
Maybe
what
Robert Redford.
Oh, you still haven't.
He's got the info. He knows.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. But then that's weird too, because like why he would effectively be undoing what led to his presidency, or at least contributing to something that could potentially undo it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really curious like how this is actually going to play out.
Yeah, and in the scene we see that they're using true tech. Like we see these like boxes of whatever. We saw Looking Glass like find one of those in the lettuce truck.
Yeah.
And, so we see those all over the place as they're putting together this big thing. So they stole this technology from Trieu, or Trieu maybe
Is
let
lying.
them have it.
Yeah.
Or she's part of it, or she like let them have it, thinking that they stole it, and she's got some way to counteract whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. There's a lot of
Very complicated case. A lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous.
yeah. So we'll get more answers to that in the next 2 weeks.
Hopefully, man.
So then we see Angela watching Lady Trieu as she addresses Millennium Clock personnel. And she goes back to the door where her tube is being fed from and breaks the lock. And inside she discovers that she's being tethered to an elephant. And she rips the tube from her arm and immediately experiences another memory, where she is scrubbing the orphanage floor, and she is introduced to her grandmother, June. June takes Angela out for a burger and explains that her father joined the military and came to Vietnam at the expense of his relationship with her. And she says that after a heart attack, she tried reaching out to him and found out that both he and his wife were deceased, but that they had a little girl who was all alone. So she came to Vietnam to get her. And then we see June packing her up in a taxi, and before they can leave, she suffers another heart attack and dies.
Yeah, I got a real Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events vibe from this whole thing. Like, first she sees her parents suicide bombed in front of her. Then she, like, by proxy, witnesses an execution.
That she more or less causes.
Yeah. Then she spends time in this orphanage where apparently they're just horrible.
Oh, yeah, they're real bad.
And then her grandmother comes to take her away from all this and then has a heart attack.
Takes her out for a burger and then dies.
Yeah. After promising that she'd finally get to watch Sister Night, too.
Yeah.
She's like, we got a VCR in Tulsa. We'll watch it as soon as we get home. And then they never get there.
No.
And then it's interesting because we get that really cool shot. We see Angela standing over her grandmother's body. And then in the background, there's that graffiti of Dr. Manhattan with the word murderer above it, which is a real interesting. Like, that visual didn't happen on accident.
No,
So
nothing in this show, I think, happens.
Which is interesting because, like, I'm wondering if that's referring to what Angela will potentially do as an officer later on, or the fact that she caused the murder of the contributor, the co-conspirator in the bombing earlier in her childhood.
Yeah. I mean, it's just dripping with character. Every scene of this whole show.
Yeah,
is just,
like some of these, that honestly, that might be one of my favorite, like just single images that the show has done so far. It's like it's a very loaded image.
Yeah.
And then of course what she does later, in this very episode, it might be.
Oh yeah.
Like literally, because of who it is, or who we think it is. Of who it is.
of whom it is.
Yes.
So we get a little bit of a connective tissue between the previous episode and the modern day.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is Angela reliving this memory, and it's still being weaved in and out of Will's experience. Right, and so it's putting all these pieces together to her story that she just never got.
Yeah.
And so the impact of meeting her grandmother and who that meant, and then like asking her grandmother or June asking Angela, like, you know, what do you do? What do you want to be? And like she's
really taken an interest.
Yeah, for the first time probably in a long time that Angela's ever had anybody warmly want to be part of her life.
Yeah.
And she's like, look, I want to be a cop. And June's like,
Of course.
Right. And it's like, what else do you have? It's like, well, I have this masked vigilante film. It's like, oh, well then.
Yep.
And then when she explains like why her dad didn't want her watching it, she says, well, someone in a mask scared him and he never really got over it.
Which we cut back to that scene that was him getting the
where Hooded Justice is wiping the makeup off of him aggressively because he doesn't want it for him.
Yeah, it was an emotional scene to watch with the music that's playing, and we see the flashbacks of that. We see the flashbacks of her having just like a fond memory of, you know, her dad as a young boy on the bed, and
she's getting pieces of her puzzle that she probably just didn't even understand.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something else in that scene that I was.
I'll say
what's the song that's playing?
It's a Hall & Oates song. I haven't pulled it up yet.
Okay. I mean, because we knew that Angela grew up in Vietnam. We knew she was on the police force there. We didn't really hear about her going to Tulsa. So as she's in the car getting ready to leave, like all of her stuff is packed up. I was like, this doesn't track with the timeline that we know happens.
Yeah, because I was thinking that myself. And then as soon as her grandma kicks it, I was like, all right, well, I guess she's staying in Vietnam.
Yeah. I was wrong. It was not Hall & Oates. It sounded like that. It's Paul Young's Every Time You Go Away.
Would have been funny, but very inappropriate if it was Hall & Oates. Was that the Making My Dreams Come True?
Yeah, you made my
that
dreams
song?
come true. That'd
Yeah.
be a little too upbeat.
But I think what I took the song to mean initially is just kind of like, oh, she's on the move. She's moving on. But then it's more about like everybody else around her keeps moving on. And like she keeps getting left behind.
Yeah.
I'm just stuck.
Yeah. Also, June's story, I mean, for such a prominent placement in like the very first episode of like, she's the girl that Will finds. And like she comes back in last episode. This is a rather anticlimactic end to her story.
It is just really tragic the way.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because the first time we see her is like fleeing a place that's like a literal riot's going down, like is in this turmoil, and then the last time we see her is in Vietnam, which like even though it's been inducted into statehood, like we clearly see there's still some political turmoil there.
Yeah.
So
also,
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. The casting of her, like an older version of her. I thought it was the same actress in makeup, but it's not. It's another woman. It's a Valerie Ross.
Yeah, but it looks like her. Yeah, which they did. I thought they did a
very
great
good
job.
Casting.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a different actress until I looked it up myself.
Even young Angela was super well cast.
Yeah.
So jumping way back, when Angela first takes the DNA from Will to the museum,
Yeah,
right, they get it tested.
Ancestry.
Yeah, she gets a phone call that says. After that, she gets a phone call that says that they've found 2 known relatives. One of them being Angela, and that was kind of like the reveal of that. Have we heard have we referenced anybody else related to Will? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do. I know what you're talking about. No, I would have thought that was Marcus, but I don't know.
But he's deceased.
Yeah.
And it would have been record. I don't know. I'm sorry. That's like a left turn.
I don't know.
I don't know if they just were leaving themselves some wiggle room there or what, but I can't think of anybody like his story as we've gotten it, and I don't think we're going to get a whole lot more on Will at this point. His story's pretty much been he was married to June. They had what was his name? Malcolm?
Marcus.
Marcus. I'm sorry. They had Marcus, and then that was kind of it from that family line. He didn't have any kids.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody else.
Didn't have any kids with Captain Metropolis.
No. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that comes back into play or not. But I'm trying to find a place for that to go, and we're relating the story now.
Yeah, could be Lube Man. We don't know.
Oh my gosh!
My brother Lube Man Abar.
The dichotomy of Sister Night, the nun with the gun, and Lube Man, the passive.
We're sure that they said there was another living relative besides Angela.
I'll insert that scene right now.
Hello, Will. Your DNA sample submitted to
the Greenwood Center for Cultural Heritage
has been processed. Congratulations. You are eligible to be a beneficiary of the Victims of Racial Violence Act. You should also know that we have identified 2 ancestors and 2 descendants in your family tree. If you know their names, we can confirm their relationship to you. If you'd like to try, please say their names now.
Angela Abar.
Will, Angela Abar is your granddaughter.
So it says that there's 2 ancestors and 2 descendants in the family tree. Mm-hmm. That could be Malcolm.
And Marcus. Yeah, I think
it could be.
I think Marcus and her are the 2.
That makes more sense.
Descendants.
I just wasn't sure if we were getting a Luke and Leia reveal here at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one. Now there's two of them.
There's two, Angela and Adrian.
So then Angela comes to next to the elephant, and she immediately gets out and approaches an elevator that takes her to level 0, which has a big blue globe that connects to Manhattan booths all over the world. Trieu finds her and tells her that Dr. Manhattan isn't listening because he's in Tulsa pretending to be human. She says that Angela's grandfather came to her because he needed her resources to stop the 7th Kavalry. She says that in less than an hour, they're going to capture and destroy Dr. Manhattan, and they're going to become him. Angela dismisses her and leaves, and as she's leaving, Trieu remarks that Angela never asked who Manhattan supposedly is.
Yeah, which again just leads everything. I was kind of thinking about that too. I was like, it can't be that she doesn't care.
Oh, no.
But then I thought back, I was like, she very confidently said that she knew Will was not Dr. Manhattan pretending to be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the amnesia stuff, I was like, is Dr. Manhattan pretending to be Cal? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like at that point, as soon as she ignored Lady Trieu, I was like, okay, this is insane, but it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the Manhattan boost was a real interesting reveal. Like that was like on par with, well, if Angela wasn't if Angela didn't know what was going on with Dr. Manhattan, like that reveal is like kind of on par with the comedian like finding the island. It's like this big revelation, like that I feel like for anybody else would have mattered, but like her it doesn't because she already knows the truth.
Yeah. No, she knows the truth, and she knows. So she's been living with this truth for a while.
Yeah.
And we see at the beginning of the first episode that there's footage of Dr. Manhattan building the sandcastle on Mars and it being like brushed away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also in that Trieu article that she like owns and operates the Manhattan booths, and she's connected us with Manhattan and shows us the footage of him. So she's doctored all that footage. So it's interesting that Angela has been living in this reality in which she knows this is all fake. And she has to like stay quiet about it. Like she knows somebody's doctoring footage of Dr. Manhattan on Mars, and she.
Which I also like. I wonder how much she knows beyond that. Like, does she know that 11-2 was a hoax?
It could be, because in that first episode as well, when the squid fall comes, she's like, "Oh, great!" And it's just an inconvenience for her.
Yeah, like the implications of all of this. How much does she know? What's the context of which this has come about?
Well, I think we're gonna find that out next episode. We'll get the backstory there.
Get another scene of Red Scare and Pirate Jenny.
Yeah, Red Scare and Pirate Jenny attempt to stop Angela from getting out, but she rams into Red Scare's car and drives on through.
What's he gonna do?
She arrives back at her home and is witnessed by a 7th Kavalry member watching from outside the house. And Cal wakes up and he finds her in the kitchen.
Is it a single 7th Kavalry member, or are there two?
There's at least two.
Okay.
Yeah, we see one, and I was like, oh, is this Looking Glass? But then there's two,
another
so
one,
he's not.
I had that same thought, and I couldn't remember.
So she tells Cal that she loves him and that it's time for him to come out of the tunnel as she brandishes a hammer and says it's hammer time. And she says that they always knew this day would come and that this was his idea. He says that she isn't herself, to which she says, "No, John, you're not yourself." And says she's sorry as she bludgeons his head in and digs out a 3-dimensional hydrogen atom, which is the symbol for Dr. Manhattan. And a blue glow emanates from Cal's previous body as we cut to black.
Yeah, I'd kind of started piecing that together, and then the second, she tells him it's time to come out of the tunnel.
Yeah, when she says the name John is
when
I was waiting for it, and when it was finally confirmed, I audibly gasped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my fiance did the same thing because I don't think she'd started putting it together as soon as I did. But I mean, it was still like it was very, very kind of out of left field. Like, I mean, and like all the other mysteries in this show, I think the signs have kind of been there if you knew where to look.
Yeah.
But like, but this one, like, easy enough to miss.
Oh yeah, even down to like Lori commenting on how sexy he is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like-
the thing is.
Which you could
makes
attribute
sense,
that
right?
to.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Lori.
That's another good one.
Yeah, Lori's taken a lot of different lovers over time, but like there are
Clearly,
like two
John
very
has stuck
distinct-
with her.
Yes. Clearly, yeah.
Yeah.
The episode that we get of her in the booth is also the episode where she meets Cal.
Yeah.
Like, also, Kal-El.
Yeah,
It's Superman. Like that
I
was.
said that in
so-
a previous episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got that. I mean,
Well, and like the casting of this, the guy who plays him, Yahya Abdul Mateen II, he's been a real part of the whole marketing behind it. He's been like with the group of, Angela and Looking Glass and Gene Smart playing Laurie Blake. Like he's been,
yeah.
He's
part
been like
of, like-
main cast.
yeah, he's been top billed. He's been present for everything. So it's like, well, this guy's something.
Yeah, and as we've covered already, he's the only other character that's been in every episode.
Yeah.
Even if it was just a small scene, he's always been present.
Yeah. Well, and then even in the previous episode, like he was the one that they brought in to try and bring Angela back from Will's memories. Like because of that connection.
Yeah.
Which then, I mean, there's so many. This is the moment that goes, I can't wait to watch back through this all over again.
Yeah.
Because there's the scene where he's talking to the kids about how God doesn't exist, and her response
man,
makes
yeah,
so
it
much
is
He's
sense.
very
that.
cold about it.
Yeah, her response makes so much sense now, and like the irony of that situation.
And then his
it just-
adopted son literally destroys his floating city the same way
Yeah.
that he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, God, yeah. There's a lot of like again, like in retrospect, it's so obvious.
it's there for everyone.
Hindsight usually is.
Tells the kids, I don't think God exists, but if he does, I'm not him.
Yeah.
Also, man, I hope the kids are sound sleepers, because that's an awkward one to walk in.
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, our adopted mom just bludgeoned our adopted father to death.
I'm anticipating the next the open of the next episode is Topher at the top of the stairs, like, oh gosh, mom finally
Goes into the
snapped.
closet with the sisters again.
Yeah.
Here we
jeez.
go. So do you think he comes back? Dr. Manhattan comes back at full strength, or do you think he takes some time to transition? Like, because it seems like a pretty easy like get out of jail free card.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because like I'm curious to the nature of how like he's inhabited
This all happened.
Yeah.
Cal, because like if Angela had to bludgeon him and dig into his skull to like bring him out, so to speak, like how does him masquerading as a human work? Like
Yeah. It's like when you could tell that was going to happen. I'm like, well, this is like trying to get the Hulk out of Banner.
Yeah.
Is what I was thinking.
I was like, oh no, this is murder, and then trying to get the Hulk out of Banner, which again too, like, I feel like the Cavalry is there because they knew somehow.
Mm-hmm. They definitely.
So
Right,
I'm
they're
really
they
curious.
knew what the target they were going for.
Yeah, because I think Lady Trieu probably knows.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's why she made the comment to Angela. It's like you haven't asked who he is or whatever.
Yeah, and she got that information. She pieced that all together based on Will. She says that like Will was the one who gave her that idea.
Well, even episode, is it 2? Maybe episode 1 even, where Will says he's Captain
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
episode 2.
Yeah, Dr. Manhattan, and like
And then
she
Angela
dismisses
says,
it, but
he
like
can't do that.
he would have known even then, like or at least theorized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that Manhattan has not been able to do, or something we've not seen Manhattan do up to this point.
Yeah. It's
And
like
it's-
the most we've seen him do is like literally like alter the hue of his skin.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of and then
He made it
obviously
darker
growing
for the
in
cameras
size.
and
Like we've never actually seen him shift into another person.
yeah.
So
Or
my
again,
understanding,
put on somebody else's skin,
Yeah.
literally being ripped from the.
Yeah.
This is another mask that's being worn in this show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My understanding of Captain. Gosh, where does this come from? Dr.
Captain
Manhattan.
Metropolis.
Captain Metropolis. My understanding of Dr. Manhattan is that he kind of, the longer he had the powers, the more just ambivalent he kind of became towards humanity.
Yeah, he definitely lost connection the older he got. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this seems like an interesting leap for him to take, to be like, no, I'm just going to go back to being human again.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll find out
Oh, yeah,
all about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because
The,
lots happened. I mean, obviously, because Lori convinced him to come back, it made him care about humanity
Mm-hmm.
again. But then after everything happened, he left Earth to go create life of his own, which we assume is probably where Adrian is in that entire world.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what happened that he was I'm just gonna be human for a while.
Yeah. And he's been human for 10 years. On Peteypedia this week, one of the articles is a medical file from a doctor's visit in Vietnam from Calvin, in which Angela, as a police officer, brought in Calvin. And he had a contusion on his head, probably a similar place. And he's just in a fugue state and is very out of it. And she insisted that he get checked by a doctor before to create this medical record that this guy exists. So some interesting things happening in there. Little tidbits. He's 33 at the time, which is, I associate the age 33 with Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
His birth date is November 22nd. November 22nd in the comics is when Manhattan finally reforms and puts himself back together and shows up.
Oh. Man, there's so many layers to this show. There's so much thought. There's so many things that people are never going to catch that they spent time on to put in here because it's that dense.
Yeah, it's all those Easter eggs that James Gunn put in Guardians of the Galaxy that people are still looking for the last one.
Yeah, which is that's not super uncommon for Easter eggs and stuff to go unfound. There was in the last 2 years there was something in the original Halo game that people just finally found. And it was if you play the game on a specific date with the specific button inputs, it does something, or it plays a track that it wouldn't usually play. But they've just they've put so much time and energy into this. It's ridiculous. It's amazing. So I really want to know why Angela.
Yeah, what the connection there is.
To go from when kind of the last place that you hear from Dr. Manhattan being kind of ambivalent towards humanity to apparently visiting and living in Vietnam, where he played a big role in that. That's kind of the
stirred up a lot of hell a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Quote from The Mandalorian this week.
And I think we're going to get that in this next episode.
Yeah.
Because according to at least the preview that they showed, there's a lot of...
This is the first
them
time I did
meeting.
not watch the preview because I was I kind of want to be in the dark.
This is the first time I did. And it was interesting, too, because I don't know if they've done it on other ones, but this time when they did the preview, the O in the HBO was the hydrogen.
I saw
symbol,
somebody post that.
which I don't think they did before this episode's
No.
preview because they probably didn't want to tip their hand. But yeah, this time it was oh, bam, there's Dr. Manhattan right there in the O.
Yeah, I saw that, and then I checked HBO's official Twitter account to see if they officially changed the logo. They have not yet. I want them to. So many questions. Another interesting thing is Dr. Manhattan. While he does it's hard for him to relate to people. His connection to people is always because of a woman. Yeah, it's his.
It's his kryptonite.
It's Janie. No, yeah, it's Janie at first because she's the one who had the relationship with John when he was turned into Dr. Manhattan, and then they keep getting older and he stays the same.
Yep.
Getting
older, I stayed the same age.
Yeah. So he loses interest in women as they age out, and he becomes interested in Laurie. And then now we see that again with Angela, like she's the one who's like keeping him connected to humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I saw some memes with the famous guy with the head turn. And it was Janie and Laurie, and now like it's been replaced with like Laurie and now Angela.
That's great.
And then the music, I was so excited they were playing David Bowie's "Is There Life on Mars," a piano version of that, which they used that song in the trailer and the marketing for the show. And I kept like listening to that in the build up to the show, and I'm like, oh, there's so much, like the lyrics of that show or that song fit so well with the things that they're exploring. The question itself, is there life on Mars? I'm like, it refers to Dr. Manhattan, but it also refers to people wondering if the squid like thing is real or not.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Yeah,
Nothing ever
two
ends.
more episodes.
Is there anything else you guys want to bring up about this episode?
No, I think covered everything, all the thoughts that I had.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of questions, but nothing that covers the episode. I'm just waiting for the next.
Yeah, blew your mind, literally. BLUE. All the Tobias Funke memes are going to come back.
I had to blue myself.
Oh, if he comes back and he says, I just blew myself for the first time in 10
Oh, that's great. Now I'm really hoping that somebody will put together an audio cut of the Hammer footage with MC Hammer's Can't Touch This over it.
Yeah.
Time to come out of the tunnel. Can't touch this. Do, 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 do.
In the meantime, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And Ryan, where can they find you and your work at?
I'm on Twitter at Harbjagen, HARBJAGEN.
You can catch me. Just go to DustinMeadowsComedy.com. Stay up on shows. Got my social links and all that good stuff there. That's where I'm at.
Cool. And episodes of this show can be found on Apple Podcasts or any podcatcher of your choice. We're also on YouTube, where we post every episode of this show. And please subscribe and leave us a review. Those all help us out quite a bit. And I've been following Pedro Pascal on Twitter. And he's a big fan of the show as well. He's always like tweeting about it every week. And so this week he tweeted, the only way I know how to describe Watchmen is that it feels better than I even deserve it to be. Which I don't even know what that means. If it was a typo.
Classic Pedro.
Yeah. So some little synergy there, because Pedro Pascal, he's the star of the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, which we also happen to have a show about. And you can find that in the maid feed along this show. So please watch that show and listen to us talk about it. We're having a lot of fun doing that. Can't wait for next week's episode and see just how much more this show can blow our minds. And if we have any of those minds left to discuss it. And until then, we'll see you all next week. Thank you and good night.